So the idea here is that the author says that whenever I am trying to suggest people with a better option, what they think and perceive of me is that I am imposing my rules on them. Say for example, if I say that if you take a celebrity for a commercial, celebrities don't do much of a justice. So will you call this a rule or will you call this a suggestion that I am trying to give you? That don't hire a celebrity if there is no need, because they don't do justice to commercials. Or if I'm suggesting you that a white font on a black backdrop will be more effective than a white font on a black backdrop. So again, this is not a rule, this is a suggestion. तो line खत्म कहाँ पर हो रही है कि researchers suggest that if you set the copy in black type on a white background, more people will read it than if you set it in white type on a black background. So now here he was trying to explain something and he had finished with an example. Now you have to see what closure you can give to the entire idea. The entire idea is that he is not imposing rules, he is only suggesting. Now let's consider the options. Guidance based on applied research can hardly qualify as rules. Thus, all my so-called rules are rooted in applied research. क्योंकि यहाँ पे दो जगह उसने रिसर्च की बात की है, तो we can think of this option. पहले भी उसने बोला research shows that commercials with celebrities. दूसरा भी उसने बोला research suggests that if you set the copy in black and type white. तो thus can be, आगे देखते हैं. A suggestion perhaps, but scarcely a rule. Such principles are unavoidable if one wants to be systematic about consumer behavior. Now, this consumer behavior option is what option? Narrow option. Too narrow. He is talking about general consumer behavior का तो एक example लिया था उसने. So this is not the answer. Fundamentally, it is about consumer behavior. ये भी गया. Okay. It can be 3. It can be 2. It can be guidance based on applied research can hardly qualify as rules. Okay. Now, what is your option? It has to be in 1, 2, or 3.
Ma'am, I did option 2.
I did 3.
I did 3.
देखो जिसने सेकेंड ऑप्शन लिया है, thus all my so-called rules are rooted in applied research. So thus is he is giving a conclusion. And हमने शुरू में क्या पढ़ा था? We have to focus on the closure. Thus मतलब बात खत्म हो गई. Thus मतलब they are concluding. Thus मतलब he is, after he has given his point of view, after he has backed his point of view with various examples, now he is concluding. So thus is more of conclusion, and we have to look for para completion. ठीक. Guidance based on applied research can hardly qualify as rules. ये उसका एक justification हो सकता है. और a suggestion perhaps, but scarcely a rule, because उसने लिखा है कि I am sometimes attacked for imposing rules, but what all I do is perhaps a suggestion. Guidance भी नहीं है वो. It is not guidance, because if you are guiding people, that means people are seeking guidance from you. And if you are seeking guidance, how can you criticize them? But suggestion तो हम खुद से भी दे सकते हैं ना. Guide आप खुद से नहीं कर सकते unless until people have asked you for a guidance. Suggestion you give it on your own. तो लोग बोलते हैं ना तुम्हारी advice नहीं चाहिए. Who has asked you for? Right? So it is perhaps more of a suggestion than of a rule. So third is the right answer. ठीक है. और जिन्होंने थर्ड मार्क किया था, थोड़ा वो अपनी रीजनिंग समझाएं so that I can get the idea कि तुमने जो सोचा वो सोचा सही या नहीं.
Ma'am, I eliminated fourth and fifth based on
Correct,
the
correct. Based on
fact
the
that it was very narrow. Second and third, I was confused. And first, again, because of what you said, it's not guidance because nowhere it was mentioned that,
Second
he's
and third.
guiding.
Second का मैंने reason बता दिया. Thus is a concluding statement. We have to close the paragraph. We don't have to conclude the paragraph. ठीक? Any questions asked? Kaushani, doubt clear? No. Okay. Ishita पढ़ो 17th.
Relations between the factory and the dealer are distant and usually strained as the factory tries to force cars on the dealers to smooth out production. Relations between the dealer and the customer are equally strained because dealers continuously adjust prices, make deals to adjust demand with supply while maximizing profits. This becomes a system marked by a lack of long term commitment on either side, which maximize feelings of mistrust. In order to maximize their bargaining positions, everyone holds back information, the dealer about the product and the consumer about his true desires. Should I read the options?
Okay. Okay. So the idea that is being discussed here is that customer, dealer, and the factory people. It is a vicious circle, and everybody is just trying to finish their job. तुम ले लो, तुम ले लो, तुम ले लो. Nobody is focusing upon the long-term relationship between these three because eventually these three will have to operate amongst themselves forever. Factory people, if there are no dealers, वो कोई काम नहीं कर पाएंगे. Whatever they'll produce will go for a toss because then there are no dealers to buy that. And dealers, वो अपना काम long term में नहीं कर पाएंगे अगर वो customer को अपने confidence में नहीं लेंगे, and they will not, sell things in order to maintain a relationship. You just don't sell products, you also gain and earn customers and goodwill. Then only you can survive in the market. It's not a one-time game, no. It's a circle. So you have to be in the game. The idea is that people are just trying to get rid of their work. And so the relationship between the factory and the dealer and the consumers are getting strained. It is not smooth, it is not streamlined. तो उसको streamline करने के लिए in order to maximize their bargaining position, everyone holds back information and the consumer about his true desires. And so if people are hiding their true intentions in order to have the maximum bargaining positions, and the process is getting strained, it's not eased out, है ना. कस्टमर ठीक से नहीं बता रहा है कि उसको लेना है कि नहीं लेना है, अच्छा भी देखते हैं. डीलर ठीक से नहीं बता रहा है कि व्हाट इज द रियल प्राइस, मैंने किस प्राइस पे खरीदी है, आपको ये सही लगेगा कि नहीं लगेगा. द फैक्ट्री पीपल, दे आर नॉट टेलिंग प्रॉपर्ली कि वेदर हाउ मच दे आर हैविंग अ स्टॉक ऑफ इट, व्हाट्स द रियल डिमांड, हाउ मच विल दिस हैव अ डिमांड फॉर यू टू सेल योर प्रोडक्ट्स एंड ऑल दोस थिंग्स. सो द प्रोसेस इज नॉट गेटिंग ईज्ड आउट. अब ये जो पूरा चीज हो रही है, इसके आगे की बात कि अब ये तो सिचुएशन है. नाउ व्हाट नेक्स्ट फ्रॉम हियर? एज अ रिजल्ट, डील मेकिंग बिकम्स रैम्पेंट विदाउट concern for customer satisfaction. This could be because आपको प्रोसेस समझा दिया गया, उस प्रोसेस से क्या हो रहा है कि रिलेशनशिप स्ट्रेन्ड है, और क्या हो रहा है, वो कैन बी एन ऑप्शन कि डील मेकिंग बिकम्स रैम्पेंट विदाउट कंसर्न फॉर कंज्यूमर सेटिस्फैक्शन. कैन बी. As a result, inefficiencies creep into the supply chain. अब सप्लाई तो हो ही रही है फैक्ट्री से डीलर को, डीलर से कस्टमर्स को, और उसमें बहुत सारी इनएफिशिएंसीज आ रही है. क्यों आ रही है? बिकॉज एवरीबडी जस्ट वांट टू गेट द डील डन, एवरीबडी जस्ट वांट टू गेट द जॉब डन, एवरीबडी वांट्स टू गेट देयर वर्क एंड देयर बिट बी डन. दे आर नॉट फोकसिंग ऑन द लॉन्ग टर्म relationships. This again can be an answer. As a result, everyone treats the other as an adversary. It's not adversary. Adversary is a rival. तो इसमें rivalry की कोई बात नहीं है, तो we can cut out option 3. As a result, fundamental innovations are becoming scarce in the automobile industry. अब इसका पूरी इंडस्ट्री के इनोवेशन से क्या लेना देना है? इंडस्ट्री में जो इनोवेशंस हो रहे हैं, that has nothing to do with this. As a result, everyone loses in the long run. Can be. So now we have options 1, 2 and 5. Again, consider karo. As a result, deal making becomes rampant without concern for customer satisfaction. Or the last line says, in order to maximize the bargaining positions, everyone holds back information, the dealer about the product and the consumer about his desires. As a result, deal making becomes rampant without concern for customer satisfaction. अब customer satisfaction अगर concern है तो customer भी तो अपनी desires छुपा रहा है. So this will not go with the last line, because last line also says that the customer is also not easing out the process. He is also hiding his decision. Then why only customer satisfaction? Why not dealer ka profit and dealer ke decisions? So again we can cross out one on second thoughts. As a result, inefficiencies creep into the supply chain. Yes. As a result, everyone loses in the long run. Yes. Ab batao which one and why?
Ma'am, for me, I think the fifth one is more appropriate.
Is more appropriate. Why?
Ma'am, it actually describes the whole situation in a better way, I think, than the second one.
Explanation से थोड़ा mark खा गई तू. Your answer is right. One thing I'm looking in the explanation. मैंने क्या?
It again talks only about the supply side of things and not the
Yes.
consumer
Yeah.
demand.
Right.
Option 2 only talks about the supply chain. So that means customer के end की तो बात नहीं हो रही है. One, and the last line says everyone holds back the information and hence everyone loses in the long run. That's more in a synergy and symmetry. Because everyone holds back, so everyone loses. कनेक्शन बन गया ना. और सप्लाई चेन विल, अगर हम सप्लाई चेन का ऑप्शन सेलेक्ट करते हैं तो कस्टमर को तो हम ले ही नहीं रहे, एंड वेयर एज देयर इज अ प्रॉब्लम फ्रॉम द कस्टमर साइड एज वेल, सो कस्टमर तो वी आर नॉट टेकिंग, तो वो छूट जाएगा. सो दैट मीन्स एवरीवन. ठीक, क्लियर? ओके आरुषि 18 पढ़ो बेटा.
The evolving world order, the comparative advantage of the United States lies in its military force. Diplomacy and international law have always been regarded as annoying encumbrances unless they can be used to advantage against an enemy. Every active player in world affairs professes to seek only peace and to prefer negotiation to violence and coercion.
Can anybody elaborate on the idea? ओके. तो यहाँ पे दे आर टॉकिंग अबाउट द वर्ल्ड सिनेरियो, एंड उस वर्ल्ड सिनेरियो में दे आर प्लेसिंग यूएस अ लिटिल हायर इन टर्म्स ऑफ इट्स मिलिट्री फोर्स. So no matter how much the world is evolving in terms of various grounds, US has a supremacy in terms of its military power, and they say that whenever it is about world affairs, everybody wants peace and they prefer negotiation in terms of war, but diplomacy and international laws, these two things everybody refrains. Why? Because they are irritating. You cannot be diplomatic on world affairs, you cannot always take the camouflage of international laws, so you have to be outspoken, you have to stand for your country, and everybody prefers peace and negotiation in terms of violence and wars. तो एक यूएस की सिचुएशन को बेसिकली हाईलाइट किया गया है इन कंपैरिजन टू द वर्ल्ड अफेयर्स. Every active player in world affairs professes to seek only peace and prefer negotiation to violence. So world scenario. Now, however, diplomacy has often been used as a mask by nations which intended to use force. अगर हम डिप्लोमेसी की बात कर रहे होते और तब ये चेंज होता, however डिप्लोमेसी, तो ये लाइन सही होती, लेकिन अभी तो हम बात कर रहे हैं वर्ल्ड पीस की. And then secondly, however diplomacy will not go together. However, when the veil is lifted, we commonly see that diplomacy is understood as a disguise for the rule of force. Okay. However, history has shown that many of these nations do not practice what they profess, is out of range. History के बारे में हम कुछ comment ही नहीं कर सकते, हमें पता ही नहीं. It is beyond the range, beyond the scope. However, history tells us that peace is professed by those who intend to use violence. Again, history, we can rule this option out. However, when unmasked, such nations reveal a penchant for the use of force. Tough one. So 1, 3, 4 हमने हटा दिया. It is 4 and 5. Diplomacy and international law have always been regarded as annoying hindrance. Encumbrance का मतलब समझ में आता है ना? Encumbrance is any hindrance, any रोड़ा, रास्ते का कांटा. So diplomacy and law have always been regarded as annoying encumbrances unless they can be used to advantage against an enemy. Every active player in world affair professes to seek only peace and prefer negotiation to violence and caution. However, when the veil is lifted, we commonly see that diplomacy is understood as a disguise. However, when unmasked, such nations reveal a penchant. There is a hint. There is a hint, and I have got the answer. What's your answer, guys?
5.
For me, it's the 5th one.
I also chose the 5th one.
ठीक है, देखो लास्ट लाइन देखो. every active player in world affairs professes to seek only peace and prefer negotiation. However, when unmasked, such nations reveal a penchant for the use of force. And the second option says, however, when the veil is lifted, we commonly see that diplomacy is understood as a disguise for the rule of force. Option 5 is only highlighting such nations. And we are talking about all the nations. और उसके पहले they were talking about diplomacy that is not appreciated. And every player in the world affairs professes to seek peace. So, however, when the veil is lifted, we commonly see that diplomacy is understood as a disguise. So, we were talking about diplomacy earlier. Then they have said that diplomacy is not appreciated, and every player they propagate only peace. However, when the veil is lifted, diplomacy is what they would like to choose as a disguise. And not such nations reveal a penchant for the use of force. Use of force की बात कहाँ हुई है? बात तो diplomacy की हो रही थी. Use of force is out of context.
But we disregarded the first option because of the same thing, right? That it's again talking about diplomacy.
Again, talking about diplomacy, yes, has often been used as a mask by nations which intended to use force. First वाला option diplomacy नहीं, force की वजह से ज़्यादा negate करा है. Diplomacy has often been used as a mask by nations which intended to use force. Force is only highlighted in terms of US, that US has a supremacy in terms of the military force that it has. और इस चीज को लोग बोलते नहीं है because they choose to be diplomats. However, given a choice, nobody really wants to highlight anything. Everybody has camouflaged themselves in the light of being diplomatic only. ये थोड़ा tough था. It was a good question. हाँ बोलो discuss your confusions.
The last line is also talking about violence and coercion, which is use of force only. So I don't understand why we're disregarding one option for the same reason, but then
Last line They seek peace and prefer negotiation to violence. Whenever there is violence, they will prefer discussion over it, negotiation over it, peace over it, in terms of wars. ठीक है? और फर्स्ट ऑप्शन हमने डिप्लोमेसी के लिए नहीं, फर्स्ट ऑप्शन हमने इसलिए हटाया विच इंटेंडेड टू यूज फोर्स. डिप्लोमेसी हैज ऑलवेज बीन यूज एज अ मास्क for nations who have intended to use force, but we are not talking about countries or nations using force. We are talking about that everybody hides under the face of diplomacy. They talk about, vocalizing their opinions. They talk about peace in terms of turbulent times. But when it comes to give a statement, everybody wants to take a diplomatic stand. In the world matters. They don't want to come into picture. They don't want to openly show their support to certain nations because they also will come in the radar of the enemy nations. So they choose to be diplomatic. So that way, we will give it to 2. Veil is lifted, we commonly see और फिफ्थ में देखो सच नेशंस को टारगेट कर दिया है, और उस सच नेशंस में जरूरी नहीं है कि सारे नेशंस ऐसा करते ही हो, बट सेकेंड इज मोर ब्यूटिफुली प्रेजेंटेड, कॉमनली सी, ज्यादातर ऐसा होता है. सो अगर हम वो भी रूल से जाए ना, जो हमने एलिमिनेशन रूल्स लिखे थे, तो सच नेशंस इज टू स्पेसिफिक. ठीक है, ओके, कंफ्यूजन क्लियर. अब हम आएंगे एंटिसिपेशन रीडिंग वाला, दैट इज फ्रॉम क्वेश्चन नंबर 11 टू क्वेश्चन नंबर 15. तो दिस बीच में भरने वाली चीजें यू आर इन द सेफेस्ट पोजिशन. आपको पहले का पता है, आपको बाद का पता है, आपको बीच में भरना है क्लियरली, नो मिस्टेक्स. इसमें कुछ ज्यादा सोचना नहीं. वॉट एवर फॉल्स बेस्ट मीन्स इट्स जस्ट लाइक you have been given a box, so you have to fit something there that exactly fits the space. It cannot be something beyond the size, it cannot be something under the size, it has to fit in the space beautifully. Okay, so we'll go with options, question number 11 to 15, para completion type 2. Okay. Okay, guys, are we good to go? You still solving? कर रहे हैं हम अभी? हाँ, ओके, ठीक है। मैं फिर थोड़े डेकोरेशंस देख के आ रही हूँ। There's a Christmas vibe here, so I'm into the decorations and the caterer भी आया हुआ है। तुम करो, मैं 2 मिनट में आती हूँ। Done, girls? चलो क्विकली बताओ क्या किया 11th का 11th is 11th is Mike. 11th is 1. Correct.
I did 1.
I did 1 and it is correct because and he will count the one happy in his condition and state of being and he will pity the other. क्योंकि उसके ऊपर वाली जो लाइन है he will first ask whether that soul of man has come out of the brighter light and is unable to see all of that. So he is basically comparing two scenarios and this is the only option that is covering both the facets, this one and that one. So 1. 12 मैं भूल गई एक बार पढ़ लेने दो. After 6 generations of gods and the people who knew the younger Ikigai gods, the sons and daughters of Enlil and Nilil go on strike and refuse the duties of keeping the creation working. He promises to help them. Abzu was the name for fresh water, no. Abzu, god of fresh water, gets angry, no. This brings about the total destruction of the world. ठीक है क्या किया इसका
Option 4.
Option 1.
Option 4 because the threatens to destroy the world with his waters and the gods gather in terror. बाद में Enki promises to help and puts Abzu to sleep, confining him in irrigation canals and places him in the cool beneath his city. तो basically उसने जिस चीज के लिए उसको लोगों को धमकी दी थी, so for the same thing she puts him into this thing. Scope of the one जो है option number 1, that's beyond the scope of narration, which was given religious fertilizing quality in Sumerian and Akkadian mythology. Sumerian mythology has not been given. ठीक है option 2 में मुझे लग रहा था but ज्यादा elaborate नहीं किया है इसलिए we are not taking option 2. Option 3, this brings about the total destruction, ये थोड़ा extreme है. And option 4 is the best compatible. So we are going with option 4. 13 बताइए.
Option 1.
First one, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am, first.
A nation lost a hero and his family lost a loved one. We यार इसमें तो मुझे सारे ही सही लग रहे हैं.
Ma'am, now I think it's option 3.
Because nation, if it is nation lost a hero, then we will come into the picture, right? We are all words for such a loss. If given a chance again, I will communicate this directly to the family so that my words can match. देखो अगर हम 4th लेते हैं तो उसके पहले की लाइन और 4th दोनों एक ही बात है, तो 4th doesn't make any sense. One doesn't know how to overcome such a loss. Such losses are irreparable. We are all first for such a loss. combination, so it has to be B together. I will go for 3. I will go for 3. एक मिनट इसका आंसर चेक करती हूँ. 3. It's 3. 14 क्या किया?
I'm confused between option 2 and option 4.
I did 4.
No, why 2, Kaushani? 2 is not making any sense in between. So why confuse between 2?
Ma'am, because the president like kind of crowned himself and like no one actually told.
This is a reminder of how far Xi has dragged China backwards in terms of political and economic liberalization. Though unbridled ambition and manipulation, the current president has put a brake on the liberal understanding of China, progressively reforming and opening up. President Xi Jinping is the uncrowned emperor of the world. So 2 will not fit in. It is the harbinger of a new kind of dictatorship in the 21st century, having ruthlessly eliminated rivals. Why not 1? Read the option 1. The China he has molded during his first term in office. और अभी क्या कह रहा है? Present Congress. ठीक है? But the present Congress is a reminder. Read the paragraph. But the present Congress is a reminder of how far Xi has dragged China backwards in terms of political and economic liberalization. Through unbridled ambition and manipulation, the current president has put a brake on liberal understanding of China, progressively reforming and opening up. और the China he has molded, he मतलब the current president, और उसके exact पहले current president की बात हो रही है. तो China he has molded during his first term in office, that is the current president, is a pale shadow of the domestically loosening and internationally modest China of the previous 2 decades. मतलब previous बात हो रही है कि कैसे Xi ने China को पीछे धकेल दिया. और अब जो करंट वो है, करंट प्रेसिडेंट है, has put a brake on liberal understanding and now he is progressively reforming. मतलब रिफॉर्म भी है और इस रिफॉर्म का एक प्रोग्रेस भी है. And the China he has molded during his first term is a shadow of the loosening and internationally modest China. So that means what? That what this person is doing is a little upgradation. और he भी है, so he is the current president. ठीक है? I think the answer should be 1. और एक बात बताओ, अगर तुमने 4th ऑप्शन सेलेक्ट किया, उसके पहले लिखा है चाइना इज प्रोग्रेसिवली रिफॉर्मिंग, तो नाउ हाउ कैन इट बी अ न्यू काइंड ऑफ डिक्टेटरशिप? ये एलिमिनेशन का पॉइंट याद करो, फैक्चुअली इनकरेक्ट. Option 4 says new kind of dictatorship. It is the harbinger of a new kind of dictatorship, which will be paradoxical, which will be factually incorrect. ठीक, थोड़ा सोचने वाला क्वेश्चन था, लेकिन ये अच्छा क्वेश्चन था. It has to be 1. अब लॉजिक समझ में आया किस बात से? वो कंट्रास्ट बता रहा है कि Xi ने क्या किया, Z ने क्या किया और करंट प्रेसिडेंट क्या कर रहा है? That's the thing. So this answer is 1. 15th क्या किया?
Four.
फोर्थ करेक्ट. किसी का कोई और आंसर? नहीं. अब देखो, आज के सेशन में तुम्हें जितनी डिफिकल्टीज हुई है क्वेश्चन सॉल्व करने में, ये बस माइंड बॉगलिंग की शुरुआत है. So you did not get all the questions correct. There was a lot of brainstorming. There were a lot of, बार-बार passage, option, कैसे eliminate करें, कैसे सही आंसर निकालें. And this is just the beginning. और ये होगा, ठीक है? So I want that I should discuss this sheet with you all पूरी. So we will continue this same sheet in the next class, so that you have a proper base of para completion, right? So I'm calling off this day. I have a class from 5, and we will continue the same class tomorrow. Okay? Okay, guys. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am.
Girls.